In the case of ICE, the mass deportations, I find myself, getting in debates with people all day, all night, day in, day out. And it's always the same thing from these people. They say, oh, well, ICE shouldn't have done this. They're Gestapo, they're Nazis, and they're this and they're that. It's the same pearl clutching argument that they just keep regurgitating each and every time. And no matter how much information I give them, no matter what new information comes out, no matter what new situation occurs, it's all the same thing with these people. It's just fear mongering, pearl clutching, and it's just like, dude, like, do you guys hear yourselves right now? And so with the recent shootings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, the left is just foaming from the mouth, calling for violence on ICE agents and MAGA supporters too, Americans for that matter, which is anti-American of them. Funny enough, this is the radical left we're dealing with. These people are the enemy, and so these people don't actually know what they're defending. They're actually defending the demise of their society. So Trump and ICE are really trying to save the day here. And these people, they're just, they're so self-destructive. They hate their own kind. They hate their own race. They hate the American way of life. And it's just funny, dude. It's sad and it's funny all at the same time. And no matter what I tell these people, they just don't seem to get it. And keep in mind, this is like, they ask me what I think, and I tell them, and then it's not the answer that they want to hear. So it's like, dude, why'd you even ask me to begin with? And they go on and on and on about how ICE is the Gestapo and they're Nazis and this and that. One guy, he said, "Oh, did you know that Greg Bovino is Italian?" I was like, dude, so what? What does that have to do with anything? And they come up with the most kind of weird arguments, weak arguments, if they're arguments at that. So because they're continuing with the pearl clutching and the fear mongering, I've compiled a list, which was AI generated via Grok, of all just a list of a few people that were killed by illegal immigrants under Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe Biden, Crooked Joe Biden, whatever you guys want to call them. But this is just a short list of people who were killed by illegal migrants. And I'm going to be going through that short list, starting from 2020 all the way to 2024. Joe Biden's years in office, the auto pen president. First we have Joseph Paglia, or Joseph Lazo, died from complications of a drunk driver, a Mexican national, so he's killed by a drunk Mexican. Same incident from above. So it's Michael White in Cherry Harbor, killed that same drunk Mexican drunk driver. That's in 2020 in Texas. Nadir Verismo, 2020, Pompano Beach, Florida, choked to death by a Brazilian. That's no bueno. Gerardo Munoz de la Paz, 2020, Montgomery County, Texas, brutally killed by an illegal alien. Didn't say what nationality, but illegal alien nonetheless. Justice M. Taylor, 2020, Richmond, Virginia, struck in a drunk driving incident by a Salvadorian national. See, these people don't care for the law, dude. They'll just drunk drive and it's no big deal for them. They're thinking, oh yeah, he's just drinking, what the heck. But that's who these people are defending. They're defending people who, drunk drivers who brutally kill people because they're so fucking wasted. Janina Valenzuela, 14 years old, Marietta, Georgia, stabbed as part of an MS-13 initiation by a Salvadorian national. So she was killed by MS-13 gang member. Elizabeth Tornabine, 2020, LaPlace, Louisiana, attacked with the machete by a Salvadorian national. These people are insane in the fucking... These are people that need to be, probably outed. They need to be done away with. And, maybe even deportations is just letting them off easy. But they need to get, hell needs to rain upon these people, these criminals who come to our country illegally and they end up murdering and killing and raping and doing all that. That's who these people on the left are defending when they go up against ICE, and they want to quote unquote wage war against ICE. I'll just edit you out.
Okay.
So Isaiah Sagastumi, I don't know how to say that, but 2020, Stamford, Connecticut, killed by an illegal alien. Miguel Ruiz, 2021, Hot Springs, Arkansas, stabbed by Guatemalan nationals. Francisco Zamora, 2021, Chicago, Illinois, shot in the head by a Mexican national. You see, that's who these people are defending. And I find myself day in and day out having to, use the same arguments against these people, and they're just so fucking brainwashed by liberal media. They say, oh, look, ICE is the Gestapo, ICE are Nazis. Dude, ICE isn't even like 10% of what the Nazis were. Because if they were, you guys wouldn't even be like speaking right now. And so that's my whole point about this. People like want to claim and cry like as if the government's cracking down directly on them, when it's not. It really has nothing to do with them. They just want to give their stupid take, and it really has nothing to do with them, and they're just going to go on, continue their lives as if nothing happened, while they regurgitate anti-American sentiment. So, moving on. Corbin Wagner, 2021, Jacksonville, Florida, killed in a wrong way drunk driving crash by a Dominican national. Crescencio Rosa de la Rosa, LaGrange, Georgia, killed by an illegal alien previously removed from the United States under Joe Biden. So, the same people, they come in, they come out, they get deported, they come back, they get deported, they come back, and because Sleepy Joe, there was no like vetting under Sleepy Joe whatsoever. These people are just allowed to go to jail 14 times, keep killing, keep murdering, keep doing heinous crimes against Americans, and nothing ever happened to them until Trump came along. Douglas R. Klein, found dead in an orchard. Suspect is an illegal alien. Springfield, Missouri. No, Terabella, California. He was found in an orchard tree. Suspect was an illegal alien. Francisco Javier Cuellar, 2021, Jacksonville, Florida, beaten and stabbed by a Honduran national. And it's crazy. So it's not really a brown thing. It's just, people will say, oh yeah, they're rounding up brown people. No, dude. Doesn't matter if you're brown, black, or white, or whatever. But it just so happens, because of our proximity to Mexico and to South America, a lot of people happen to be brown, and they're committing the crimes. So that's what the deal is. I mean, you have to call it out for what it is. Like, I think it's in San Diego, it's like only 6% of the population in San Diego is black, but yet they commit 1/3 of all violent crimes in the city of San Diego. So Evelyn Falcon, 60-year-old woman. She's a 60-year-old woman from Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. She was ejected from the vehicle in a crash caused by an illegal alien under the influence. Poor old lady. Cindy Golding, 2021, Kansas City, Kansas, struck by a drunk Mexican national. It seems like Mexicans just love to drink and drive and be here illegally all at once. America Mafalda Thayer, in Minnesota, murdered and beheaded by a Cuban national. How brutal. Condolences to all the families who have been, of all these people, but to be brutally murdered like that is sick. Oh, but ICE is kidnapping people and they're throwing them off the helicopter into the ocean, right? Victor Huerta from Cedar Rapids, looks like Iowa, stabbed during an argument by a Honduran national. These people, they think, because they're here legally, that they could just escape the justice system by a liberal DA, liberal judge, and nothing's going to happen to them. Aaron Simanskis died from injuries in a drunk driving crash by a Mexican national. Terry Altman, Brenda Altman, Daytona Beach, Florida, 2022, stabbed and throat slit by an illegal alien. Aiden Lopez Lorenzo, 2022, Homestead, Florida, killed and body dumped in a canal by a Guatemalan national. Sandra Vasquez and her 14-year-old son, smothered and beaten to death by a Mexican national. Kayla Hamilton, 20 years old, 2022, strangled by an El Salvadorian MS-13 gang member. And see, where's the outrage for these people? Where's the outrage for them? This guy, this nurse, apparently, this a-hole, he goes and he interferes with ICE arresting an illegal alien, and he blocks their path and gets in their way. And what a stupid decision to make, especially when you have a firearm like that, interfering with police duties and police activity, and you're gonna go over there and block their way. And then they actually gave him, I think ICE was being a little too nice, because they gave him plenty of chances to get out of there. He could have just left and said, oh, I pepper sprayed, I'm out of here. But no, he continues, and then they try to take him into custody, and then he's fighting them while he has a freaking gun, and he tries to pull out said freaking gun, and then they do what they have to do, and the libs just eat it all up. So continuing, Martin, Iran, carry on, Adam. And it's funny because a lot of these victims who were murdered by illegal migrants are actually, a lot of them sound Hispanic, but the left doesn't care about that. The left doesn't care about that. Like, their supporters don't care about it. The lefties don't care about it. The news doesn't care about it. So, Sergeant Ned Byrd shot in the back of the head by a Mexican national. That was in 2022, Wake County, North Carolina. Haley Helgeson, 18 years old, 2023, Wisconsin. Victim from Minnesota, killed in a head-on crash by an intoxicated Honduran national. Michael Kunovich, 2023, St. Johns County, Florida, died from injuries during a struggle with a Guatemala national. And the left doesn't care. The left does not care at all. Carmen Yunilda Navas Zuniga. Sounds Hispanic, right? Sounds Mexican. 2023, El Paso, Texas, murdered and robbed by a Venezuelan national. See, when it's Latino on Latino crime, like if it's a Venezuelan committing, heinous murders upon a Mexican woman or, old Mexican lady, whatever, where's the outrage? Where is the outrage? Telemundo, Univision, they didn't even report on this stuff, dude. It's outrageous. It's really outrageous. Faro Gilbert, 2023, West Bridgewater, Massachusetts, burned to death in a vehicle crash caused by an Ecuadorian national. Mateo Garcia, 6 years old, dude, 6 years old, struck in a parking lot by an illegal alien driving recklessly. David Bro and Kareem Abu Najim, 2023, Davis, California, stabbed to death by a Salvadorian national, probably MS-13 asshole gang member. And then over here, it has like a list. The next one is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So a whole entire family in Texas, 2023, shot in the head during an argument by a Mexican national. They all got shot. Maria Gonzalez, 11 years old, 2023, Pasadena, Texas, raped, strangled, and body hidden by a Guatemala national. That is absolutely sick. That is sick. I hope that guy gets a public execution. That's absolutely disgusting, dude. Aiden Clark, 11 years old, 2023, Clark County, Ohio, killed in a school bus crash caused by a Haitian national. Rachel Morin, 2023, Bel Air, raped and murdered on a trail by a Salvadorian national. And you see, a lot of these people are Latino. A lot of these victims are Latino. But, they want to say that ICE is just deporting brown people. Stupid thing to say. Jairo Hernandez Sanchez in New York, stabbed by Honduran national. Catalina Valdez Andrade, Merced Andrade Bailon in Texas, 2023, shot in their residence by an illegal alien. Travis Wolf, 12 years old, 2023, killed in a wrong-way crash by a Venezuelan national without a license. Melissa Powell and Riordan Powell, both 16 years old. Oh, it looks like Riordan Powell was 16 years old, but this happened in Broomfield, Colorado in 2023, killed in a drunk driving crash by a Salvadorian national. Lizbeth Medina, stabbed in her apartment by a Mexican national. Shannon Patricia Jungworth, Mario Alberto Trejo Estrada, Jorge Alexandra Reyes Jungworth in 2024 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, shot in the head during a home invasion by an illegal alien. Alex A.J. Wise Jr., 10 years old, 2024, Midland, Texas, struck while walking home from school by a drunk Mexican national. Laken Riley, 2024, Athens, Georgia, beaten to death while jogging by a Venezuelan national. Christopher Gadd, 2024, in Wisconsin or Washington. It looks like Washington. Yeah, Washington. It's Christopher Gadd, killed in a crash caused by a Mexican national speeding under the influence. These people come to our country illegally. They don't respect the laws. So at the bare minimum, they could get deported. That's really being nice, if I have to be quite frank. That's really being nice, is for them to get deported and go back home. These people kill American citizens. They kill. And they don't want to face the consequences of their actions. So, what the fuck, dude? I think the Trump administration needs to go way harder in the paint, like Waka Flocka Flame, when it comes to rounding up these criminals and give them, due diligence, give them, harsher punishments than what's there, because they already killed people. The same person can't die. The family member that's killed isn't coming back. The daughter, the mother, the father, whatever, they're not coming back. So it's like a forever pain, unfortunately, for these people. Marcella Simon Franco, stabbed dozens of times by a Mexican national during a domestic dispute. Malia Choke de Peck, Estrella Anastasia Peck Koch, stabbed by Guatemalan national. Builder Pablo, stabbed at a hotel by Guatemalan national in Wildwood, Florida. Jacques Price, Montgomery County, 2024, struck while skateboarding by an illegal alien without a license. John Douglas Ratcliffe, 2024, Lexington, South Carolina, killed on a motorcycle in a crash caused by a Mexican national without a license. Christy Thibodeau, 2024, New Orleans, Louisiana, killed during an attempted robbery by Honduran nationals, so more than one. Dirtbags. Anilson Mauricio Perez Gomez, 21 months, stabbed in the abdomen by a Guatemalan national. 21 months old. So, not even 2 years old. And brutally stabbed to death. In Chester County, Pennsylvania. Stabbed in the abdomen to death by a Guatemalan national. It's despicable. And that's who these people on the left are defending when they go up against ICE. It's really who these people are defending. But they're crying over a couple people they're crying over Alex Preddy and Renee Good. A couple people who fucked around and they found out. It's mind-boggling. It really is. Matthew Carney, 2024, Nashville, Tennessee, killed in a hit-and-run crash by a Mexican national. Victoria Eileen Harwell, killed in a drunk driving crash by an Ecuadorian national. Minneapolis, Minnesota, 2024. Where's the outrage for them? Christian Sluka, 2024, Dormont, Pennsylvania, rear-ended on a motorcycle by an illegal alien speeding without a driver's license. Dania Cruz Mejia, 2024, Montgomery County, murdered after an argument by a Salvadorian national. Jocelyn, Nungaray, 12 years old. That's a really, infamous and prolific case. 2024, Houston, Texas, raped and strangled by 2 Venezuelan nationals. But the left doesn't care about that, so the left is defending these people, dude. Tiger Gutierrez, 22 years old, from Albuquerque, New Mexico, killed in a drunk driving accident by a Mexican national. Yeah, it's crazy. And right after that one, it's another family. Evangeline Ubaldo Moreno, 4 years old, Sebastian Ubaldo Moreno, 2 years old, Frame Ubaldo, and Marangeli Moreno Santiago. So it's a family. It's a family who was murdered, stabbed multiple times in the neck and chest by a Dominican national. So the left are the enemies, dude. They want to take away the right to defend themselves. They only like the Second Amendment when they want it, when they use it out of anger, out of spite. So they actually want to go on the offense, not on the defense. They're not on the defense. They're on the offense. And for the left and the mainstream media not to highlight any of these, like what they talked about Jocelyn Nungaray. Did they even talk about Jocelyn Nungaray or Laken Riley? I don't think they did. They talked about it for like a day or two, and that was it. And they just back to demonizing Trump, back to demonizing ICE. But they just, dude, this is ridiculous, dude. This is ridiculous. Angel Samaniego, Stamford, Connecticut, 2024, bound and shot execution style by 2 Venezuelan nationals. Grayson Christopher Davis, 2024, in Bastrop County, Texas, killed in a multi-vehicle crash caused by a drunk Mexican national. Stop the fucking drinking already. Debrina Kawam, 57-year-old, 2024, New York City, New York, burned to death on a subway after her clothes were set on fire by Guatemala national. I remember that one. I remember the mainstream news was kind of forced to talk about it. They didn't want to talk about it, but they were forced to talk about it. But that's who these people defend when they go up against ICE, when they go up against MAGA, when they go up against Trump. They're defending all these illegal aliens, these hardened criminals, these actually mentally ill, highly mentally ill. But who gives a fuck about mentally ill? The fact is, these people committed brutal, heinous crimes. They deserve to get, punished to the fullest extent, dude. The fullest fucking extent. So, for the left to defend these criminals is absolutely insane. It's really insane. But, I guess, the people in charge of the media, we all know who they are. Jews. Have done a good job at brainwashing, the normies, the lefties, the boomers. And these people they need to snap out of it. They really need to snap out of it. And they really need to do their own research, because that's what the left doesn't want you to do. They don't want you to do your own research. They want you to stay ill-informed. They want you to believe what they put out. And so, guys, well, that's pretty much it. I don't know. Kind of, it boggles my mind sometimes with these people, dude. It's like, it's a never-ending story.